Have you ever wondered why it's so ridiculously hard to change a habit, even when you really want to? Well, today, we're going to dive deep into the science behind why our own brain resists change, and what we can actually do about it.
I mean, we've all been there, right? You start January with this huge plan. You're going to hit the gym, read more, learn a new skill. But before you know it, it's February, and that resolution is just gone. It's a super frustrating, but also super common experience. But here's the thing. It's not because you're lazy or because you lack willpower. The real reason is this predictable and honestly kind of fascinating battle that's happening between two different parts of your brain. And understanding this conflict, that's the very first step to winning it.
To make sense of this, let's use this brilliant metaphor. Imagine your mind is a person riding an elephant. The rider on top, that's your logical, analytical brain. It knows you should go to the gym. But the elephant, well, that's your emotional, habitual brain. It's powerful, it's instinctive, and it really just wants to stay on the couch. Now, who do you think is stronger? So, let's start with the elephant. Why is our emotional brain so powerful and so stubbornly resistant to doing anything new?
Well, scientists actually have a name for this. It's called cognitive inertia. It's just the tendency for our usual ways of thinking and acting to keep going, even when there are better options out there. It's the brain's built-in preference for the same old thing.
And this isn't some kind of design flaw. It's a survival feature. See, deep inside our brain, a little part called the amygdala acts like an internal alarm system. It sees anything new or unfamiliar as a potential threat, and it triggers a tiny little fight-or-flight response. So that new project at work, to the elephant, it feels like there's a predator hiding in the bushes.
And this can have some pretty serious real-world consequences. Take the 1918 Spanish flu. Historians think cognitive inertia is a big reason why so many people didn't take it seriously at first. Their brains were just used to the normal seasonal flu. This new, way deadlier version didn't fit the old pattern, so they resisted changing their minds until it was way too late. On top of that survival instinct, our brain is also incredibly efficient. You could even say it's lazy. It always wants to take the path of least resistance. Old habits are like these well-worn trails in your brain that take almost no energy to follow. Trying something new? That literally requires more brain power, and our brain is an absolute master at conserving energy.
Okay, so the elephant is wired for safety and for saving energy. But it also has a few sneaky mental shortcuts, we call them cognitive biases, that make it even more stubborn and keep us stuck right where we are.
First up is something called loss aversion. Basically, our brain feels the pain of a potential loss about twice as strongly as the pleasure of an equal gain. So when you think about changing your job, the fear of losing your current salary or your comfortable routine screams way louder than the potential joy of a better opportunity. The elephant just hates to lose stuff.
And then there's confirmation bias. This is when our brain acts like a biased detective, only looking for clues that support what it already believes to be true. So if your elephant thinks your current diet is good enough, it'll go out and find all the articles that confirm that, while conveniently scrolling right past all the evidence that says otherwise.
Okay, so we're up against this powerful, emotional, and biased elephant that absolutely loves the status quo. The logical writer can't just yell orders and expect to win. So how in the world we actually make change happen? Well, the secret is to stop fighting a battle of wills and to start being a really clever guide. It's all about working with your brain's natural tendencies, not against them.
The key thing to get here is that the writer just can't overpower the elephant through sheer force. Willpower is a limited resource, and it runs out. So instead, the writer has to be smarter. Persuading, coaxing, and sometimes even tricking the elephant into moving in a new direction. Now, behavioral science gives us two fantastic tools for this. The first is nudging. Basically, making small, smart changes to your environment. You want to eat healthier? Put a fruit bowl right on the counter and hide the cookies in a high cabinet. The second is storytelling. See, the elephant responds to emotion, not data. If you can frame a change with a compelling story, it starts to feel less like a threat and more like an exciting adventure.
But maybe the most powerful strategy of all is to make the new path so ridiculously easy that the elephant doesn't even notice it's changing direction. This brings us to the absolute magic of microhabits. So let's do a quick refresh on how habits form. Every single habit follows this simple little loop in your brain. There's a cue or a trigger that leads to a routine, which then results in a reward. And that reward tells your brain, hey, that was good. Let's remember this loop for later. To build a new habit, you have to build a new loop. Simple as that.
But here's the trap we all fall into. When we try to build some huge new habit, like going from 0 to running 5 times a week, we're relying entirely on willpower. And like we said, willpower is a finite resource. When you overuse it, you get something called ego depletion. You literally just run out of self-control, and the old habit comes roaring right back.
So what's the solution? Micro-habits. These are tiny, tiny versions of a new habit that are, as the people who created them say, too small to fail. They're actions that require so little effort and willpower that they completely bypass the elephant's natural resistance and fear.
Author Stephen Geese gives the perfect example. His micro-habit for getting fit was just 1 push-up a day. Think about it. He argues the hardest part of any workout is just getting started, and an action as small as 1 single push-up requires basically 0 motivation. It just short-circuits all that resistance. And once you're on the floor, you're already in motion.
And this principle applies to absolutely anything. You want to read more? Don't aim for a whole chapter, just aim for 2 pages. Want to start running? Just put your shoes on and run for 60 seconds. Want to write a book? The goal isn't 1,000 words, it's just 50. The point isn't the outcome at first, it's about building that new, effortless pathway in your brain.
So, after all this, after exploring the inner workings of our brain, what's the one big takeaway here? What's the thing that can help you finally make that change you've been wanting to make? Here it is. The most crucial point is this. Stop trying to fight your brain with brute force. It's a battle you're probably going to lose. Instead, understand its rules, its love for the familiar, its fear of loss, its constant desire to save energy. And then, design the change you want so that it becomes the easiest, most frictionless, least scary choice you can possibly make.
So, that leaves us with one final thought. Forget about the huge, sweeping resolutions for just a moment. What is one ridiculously small, too small to fail action you could take today? What's your one push-up that could start pointing that powerful elephant of yours down a completely new path?